So once upon a time, right here in Manitou, it was 1975. I was a young hippie mama with 2 boys, newly separated from their dad. I worked for Autumn Lewis, who had Meadowfound Gallery and Pot Shop. I was her assistant manager. I was also part of the Manitou Potters Co-op, and I loved it. But for every hour that I spent on the wheel making pots, I had 4 hours of grunt work. And as much as I loved it, my body didn't. When I was a teenager, I had 13 vertebrae surgically fused for scoliosis. Now, scoliosis is a type of curvature of the spine that forms into an S, and it's usually caused by trauma. I survived violence from my family and also social violence because I grew up in mining towns as a kid. So I had an S for Susan. I've always had people ask me to give them a massage to help them out with the sore neck, bad shoulder, low back, and I always offered. And that's been from the age of 9 on. And of course, here I am with all of these potters. I think I did more bodies than I did pots. So I knew that massage school was the next thing for me to do. And the kids went to live with their dad and their soon-to-be other mother. I sold out all my studio equipment, applied for going to school at the Boulder School of Massage Therapy, and I moved to my hometown in Grand Junction. And I got a job as an aide for a group of chiropractors and as their massage person. Well, what happened is that people started canceling their appointments with the chiropractors and scheduling with me. So the boss called me into his office and said, I want you to go full-time as an aide. And I said, well, what are you going to do to compensate me for lost wages? Because they didn't pay very well. And it was a good thing that we were in his office and there was a very large desk between us because that made him mad. And he said, who do you think you are? You're not even trained. You haven't been to school. And just flew it right out of my mouth. And I just said, well, I can tell when a muscle relaxes. Bone goes back into place unless there's a problem. And he was just so mad. I got fired right then and there. So I went to school in Boulder. It was the fall of 1981. Oh, Boulder. Oh, my. You know, Boulder has its own energy. And if you've been there, you know what I mean. And everything happens there. And the new age stuff was happening. I was in my glory. It was wonderful. But I was also at the time when they had massage parlors where a guy could get a full hour, full body massage from the inside of a woman's thigh for $75. A trained, bona fide massage therapist got $35 for an hour's work. I had an older brother who was an oil driller. And he said, don't you tell anybody what you're doing. They're going to think you're a prostitute. You tell them you're a physical therapist. And that was kind of the attitude at that time. Well, I got started in massage school, and it was wonderful. I got to have names for things that I felt, that I sensed. Anatomy gave me the whole thing, the lowdown on why joints moved the way that they did. And I got introduced to medical language that's different than first aid, because I also have a background as an emergency medical 2 technician that came from the days of when I was married to the kid's dad. So here I've got this whole opening of what's going on inside of the body and this language for these things that I could feel, that I could sense. And I loved it. Physiology, oh my God, I'm so in love with physiology. I still just read physiology like other people read novels. And I'm online and I'm looking for things of like why the body does what it does that's supported by science. And one of the things that excites me now, that's changed so much from 1981, is the embracing of quantum physics and our understanding of energy in the body, the different systems, how they communicate together and what they do. And it's exciting. And I love it because that's what's happening, and it's all of us. When I was in school in Boulder, yeah, I lucked out. I had two really remarkable women friends. One was an older French woman. Her name was Perrine Terry, and she became a medical intuitive and became famous. The other person is Marianne Foster, and she came from Seattle with Dr. Martin's franchise for inversion tables. And inversion tables, you might see them in a gym, sporting goods stores. They're the tables where you strap your ankles in and you start waving your hands up and down and you go upside down. So cool. Well, Marianne opened up an inversion clinic and I got to work with her for a while. And we invented therapy that corrected postural problems for people and a whole lot more. We were still in school. So we weren't licensed. We didn't have any kind of degree. We just were like really excited. And we had this sensibility about how the body works. And what did people need to do in terms of changing an attitude or just breathing different? And the whole system would start to fall into place in a way that was more comfortable for him. It was easier for him. And we were so excited. The other thing that Marianne had is this amazing background in dance and movement education. Well, back in those days, for me to turn my head and look over my shoulder, I couldn't rotate in my trunk. I was frozen from those surgeries. And I had a lot of pain that had been chronic for years and years. And through experimenting with movement with Marianne, I got to where I could look over my shoulder without turning around, without having to move my feet to do it. That was so amazing. And what amazed me is how it changed my whole sensibility about myself, how I thought of things, how I could feel things. And it was exciting. And I was in Boulder, and there were other people who were like me. They were empaths. They could feel things that other people didn't feel. They had a sensibility about not only people, but plants, the earth itself. There was this wonderful language that I got to hear and find that I knew something about it inside myself. So I started this journey of transformation. And there is also another journey for me, and that's growing up in mining towns. I was a little bit on the aggressive side with very strong assertiveness. And the people at the Boulder School of Massage Therapy are going, well, Susan, can you soften that? And I'm like, what do you mean? And so they would show me. And so what I learned to do was be softer, be less defensive, be more present, and not with so much expectation. I started to come into a being that was not supported from how I grew up. And it was an adventure in consciousness and how it changed me. Not only did it change my body, but it changed my mind frame of how it is to be a human being and to be with other beings that were being the human being rather than the human animal. I liked it. I liked it a lot. So from that, I'm in my 36th year now as a massage therapist. And what I've done is morph into learning how each system works and how you can hold that system on a cellular level, because it has an energy, a vibration to it. This is a skill that's taught in occupational therapy. They use it for brain-injured infants and they use it for brain-injured people. And you want to help bring the body into a higher function. If you can bring the body into a higher function, what happens? It will help stabilize that person. And it's just such an amazing thing to do. It's such an exploration, but it's that person's health, not me. It's that person's health that says, hey, I want you over here, hold here, but it's all through sensory information. And I get directed by a person's health and how it wants to have me be that augmentation to it, to provide the structural support of maybe pulling some tissues apart, not like taffy, but a little spreading, or just to hold something until it really fills with what it needs. Something happens, but it's that person and it's their health. And it's so wonderful to see people go, aha, I'm getting this. I'm having a different sense of myself, what's possible, and what I'm about. And I'm just so happy to share this story with you. Thank you.